did have a little nice lie-in this morning. I'm going to be mega productive and I've woken up really excited about the things I get to do today. But first I'm going to just write down all those things because I'm so excited about doing them all that my head's going a bit like, wah! Where to start? So I'm going to, let's go sit on the bed. Hello. I know I've already said welcome back to my YouTube channel, but welcome back. Now I'm sat down and ready to go. If you haven't yet subscribed, please subscribe. It would mean the world to me. I've just nipped out to the shop to go get some milk because we ran out of milk. So I've now got coffee, water, and some shredded wheat bites with honey. Probably best I do this while I'm eating because it kind of makes sense, even though it might be a little bit weird. I don't know. It might be kind of cool at the same time. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to start with where my poor relationship with food kind of came into play. When it was 2012, so I'm going to say, how old was I? 13? Yeah. So for about a year before that, I'd started struggling with my body image. 2 years, I'd say, because I'd started struggling with it in about year 6 of primary school, which year 11. But I hadn't developed those unhealthy habits yet. I'd just kind of started to develop those self-hate conversations in my head and being nasty to myself. So obviously, as much as I wanted to try and convince myself there's nothing wrong, there quite clearly was something wrong. Now, I never wanted to say I had an eating disorder because I didn't have anorexia, but I know that's not the only eating disorder, so I would say probably yes, my eating was disordered, and it played quite a significant impact on my life for a very long time, and I think I've dipped in and out of that in various ways. I think it started with, obviously my OCD had heightened and come to a head, and I therefore had the self-awareness to know that if I started counting calories, I would probably go down a really negative path. And this was at 13 years old. Like, that shouldn't be a thing. But that was the summer where they had you know those glasses, those Coca-Cola glasses at McDonald's, and you could win them by eating their whatever, you know, you get a glass when you eat your meal or whatever. And we kept going because basically we wanted to get every coloured glass. And I was also going on holiday somewhere that wasn't where I usually went on holiday, because we had a family home in Bulgaria, and we didn't go there this year. We were going to Corfu, and it just knocked me off track, and I had a very severe mental breakdown in terms of like my OCD and everything like that. But I definitely started to hate on my body. I started calling myself fat. I thought I was disgusting. I hated looking at myself. I literally couldn't have hated myself any more than I did that summer. I hated myself, not even just my body, but significantly my body as well. Like, that's where it became an issue for me, that I then had to exercise. I said to myself when I came back from that holiday, I was like, you're going to exercise every single day and you're going to eat perfectly until you're happy with your body. Now, that was no way to go. No way to go. I've then obviously talked about this before, where I started obsessively exercising, and that's not what we're here to talk about today. So if you want to listen about that, then watch one of my old videos. It basically, my eating got to a point where if my mum put seasoning on my chicken, I wouldn't eat it, and I'd cry and scream and literally have a complete mental breakdown. I had a full-on panic attack, didn't know what to do, was screaming at my mum. I told you not to do that, I told you not to put pepper on my chicken, I told you not to put salt on. Honestly, I think I'd have been better off counting calories, because then I'd have realised that it wasn't about what was going on my chicken. Like, I definitely could have had the seasoning on my chicken, and the thing was, because I wasn't doing things like that, I definitely wasn't hitting the calories I should have been hitting. But then I went into a bulk, so I realised, even though I still wanted to do it clean, I didn't realise what clean meant back then, and like I say, I would therefore not have any seasoning on anything, I wouldn't have any sauces, nothing like that. I was just eating like bare minimum plain disgusting meals like egg or chicken or rice or sweet potato with literally nothing on it. Like, it was not good, and I would eat all this, but then I had it completely wrong. So I would then eat cereal bars because I thought they were good for you, and I thought, I don't know, because I never looked into like the protein, carbs, sugars side of things. I would eat enough of those to then build up my calories, so I was eating enough in a day, but the whole thing was just counterproductive because I was like starving myself with meals of nutrients, of enjoying them, and I was punishing myself to eat really, really plain meals, fooling myself into thinking I enjoyed it when I didn't, downing a protein shake in the morning, a protein shake in the evening, and a couple of cereal bars in between. I was making up the calories, and I was probably eating quite a lot of calories because I was having the shakes and the cereal bars, which I wanted to. I wanted to have a lot of calories, but I never wanted to track how many because of the OCD side of it. So I was making sure I was eating a lot, which was good because I wanted to grow, and I wanted to grow muscle, etc, etc. However, I then was unable to be in control of my shape because I wasn't tracking the calories, and that is the way of doing that, tracking your calories and your macros and exercising. If you want to achieve a certain physique, that's how you do it. However, I wasn't doing that. I was just eating loads and eating as much as I can, having protein and carbs around, working out, and then working out really hard, obsessively working out too much and overdoing it. But when you're in your first year or so of training, that's when you really gain the most or lose the most, shall we say. So even though all these years I'd been training, I hadn't yet used significant weight. I'd used like 1 kilogram, 2 kilogram for stuff here and there. Then I joined the gym at like, well, I'd been bits and bats to the gym around the corner when I was younger, but when I was 17 and could drive, I started going to the gym. And in that year, my body changed like mental, and I started talking to personal trainers. I got a personal trainer, and I learned a lot more about exercise and about food, and I therefore started tracking calories, and then I understood it a lot more. I did more research into the carbs, protein side of things, and it was okay. So I started then being more obsessive, but I was still in this zone of like not being able to have like seasoning on chicken and sauces and stuff like that. Like, it just wasn't working for me. That was my OCD being like, what? Yeah, crazy times, man. Crazy times how that used to be a thing for me. I don't know how I survived that. That must have been so bloody boring. Like, so boring. Anyway, I then formed this unhealthy habit of saying, right, you can have one bad meal a week and eat everything else on track. However, I didn't then manipulate my calories and stuff throughout the week to account for that. Not that it matters, but if I wanted to be specific with my goals, then I should have done that, but I didn't. And that one meal then turned into like one evening, say. So I'd then eat like so restrictive throughout the week, and it was restrictive. It was restrictive eating, and it shouldn't have been, but it was. For instance, I wouldn't have had honey on my cereal like I am doing now, and I would have had bare minimum milk. And then my evening meal, that was my cheat meal, became just like, eat whatever the hell you want, as much of it as you can. So it would be a binge. It would be a massive binge. I'd get like a massive Domino's, and because I'd starved myself so much, I could eat literally a large Domino's pizza back then. I can't even eat that now. Anyway, I'll get on to that in a minute. A large Domino's pizza, all the sides, or a dessert, loads of chocolates, loads of treats, maybe alcohol, etc, etc. I'd have everything possible in one evening, which was just literally the most unhealthy habit, because even though, yeah, it's fine, it kept me on track throughout the week and it kept me disciplined, psychologically that is a really like detrimental habit to get into, because your brain is then like, it's okay to starve myself throughout the week and then binge on whatever the hell I want. And that then means that I'd had no control. Although the whole point of it was to think that I was in control of what I was eating and what I was doing to my body. Even though I did work my calories lower at this point throughout the week, and I did account for it with my training, so it did kind of balance itself out, but not massively, but it did, because I'd then do like a massive deadlifting session the day before and the day after. Physically that might have been the right thing, but psychologically it was developing a very, very downward spiralling path, so that every time I then treated myself to something, I had no control over it. And I was that disciplined with restricting myself that I could restrict myself to an extreme. Like, it was not cool, man, like not good. So I could then go, you know, say a few days with really restricting myself, and then say I'd come on my period and I'd be like, right, I deserve a treat now. So instead of just getting like a chocolate bar, I would get everything, like everything. And then I'd go into this cycle of feeling horrific after it and then wanting to account for it, so I'd train, not eat enough, and then go and try and do a really, really heavy, big calorie burning session. Yeah, and it was just a cycle in my head, and it was also this cycle of looking in the mirror and trying to convince myself that I was happy with what I saw, but I wasn't. I was never enough. I was never looking at myself thinking, you are enough. I was always looking at myself picking faults in who I was and what I'd achieved, and I'll be happy when my bum's bigger, I'll be happy when my biceps are bigger, I'll be happy when my triceps match my biceps. And then I went so crazy on training triceps that they then outweighed my biceps, and then I was like, oh my god, no, my biceps need to be bigger. And then I was like, oh my god, my arms are too big. This was the whole point. I started training because my arms were too big. I wanted them to be toned and small, and what am I doing to myself? I was literally like driving myself insane, and this has literally been going on since I was 11. Like 11. And now we're in 2020, and this is when I've finally broken the path. I've broken the trap. I've broken free of it. Now, I'm not saying that I don't have those tendencies, because it's so ingrained in me that of course I do. And of course I find it hard sometimes. However, this year, when I kind of had this massive realisation and this overwhelming sense of the only person you need to be good enough for is you, I was like, wait, hold up. Because when I was personal training, I was like, oh, I need to have a big bum so that girls want to train with me. Oh, I need to have big arms so that I can still train guys, because guys won't want to train me if I don't know how to grow my arms. And it was just like this cycle of, I always wanted to prove myself to other people. And I always also wanted to prove that I was better than lads, because I had this thing about like sexism and like people thinking I was only going to the gym to train my bum and, you know, not to be strong and stuff. And I was training for the wrong reasons. I was training for what I looked like rather than my health and rather than my fitness. And I would go and force myself into doing sessions I didn't even want to do. Like, I'd wanted to be doing all the jumping around burpees and stuff, and then throw some deadlifts in and a bit more crossfitty. And instead I'd push myself through these sessions that I wasn't even enjoying, just so that I could look in the mirror and then pick more fault in myself. Honestly, crazy. And then I realised, obviously, you see people on Instagram and stuff and you're like, I wish I could look like that. And you're like, I could look like that. However, I don't train to look like that. I don't eat to look like that. I don't focus on looking like that, because I'm trying to prove myself to other people instead of just working to be who I want to be. Yeah, crazy times, man. Like, I sat in the garden this one morning of lockdown with my boyfriend, and we sat eating something, and we were eating good meals, and you know, cooking, it was great that he started cooking for me, because he'd then like throw in spices and stuff, and although at first I found it horrific, like I'd really struggle with things like this, I then stopped tracking things and I just started exercising for fun. And I kind of used that time where the gyms were closed to be like, oh my god, I can't just go to the gym, so let's just let myself go a little bit. And when I say let myself go, I don't mean that in a negative way, I mean that in a very positive way, in a way that's like, let's just let all these thoughts and feelings go, and let's just do what I want to do. Like, if I want to work out, work out. If I don't, don't. If I want to do deadlifts, deadlift. If I don't want to do deadlifts and I want to do burpees, go do burpees. Like, it was then listening to my body more and started doing the same with eating, intuitive eating. So because you're stuck at home, you know, you could just binge on all sorts, and don't get me wrong, there's times that you kind of do that anyway, but with having significant health issues, I was then working out and eating to feel better, because I'd gone through such a period of time with my health that I was struggling to eat at all, and I lost a lot of weight. I was eating because I always knew that I had to, but it was hard, it was difficult, because I was on so many medications, I was in so much pain, and I just couldn't eat, and I had to just force myself. And then even now, this is horrible for me to say, and it's not like I do it on purpose, so do not take me the wrong way. This is purely down to being on medications and having a health condition. But I have really bad reflux, and sometimes I'll eat a meal and then within 10 minutes of eating it, I've thrown the whole thing back up. And that's hard to deal with. Like, that's really hard to deal with, because it really upsets me that that happens. And sometimes when I'm throwing it up, I will literally be crying. Instead of saying, why is this happening to me? I was like, okay, this is happening, we got to deal with it. So say for instance last night, that did actually happen, and I had a curry, and then I just felt so sick. Like, my head was like, oh, my stomach was bad. I felt like I was going to be sick if I stayed sat upright. I needed to like lie down or something, and I was like, oh, this is not good. I stood up and I was like, I'm going to be sick. Went upstairs and the whole thing came back up, and I then just say to myself, it's happened, there's nothing I can do about it, because it's not me making myself do it. I would never do that. And if you do that, please seek help, because it's not healthy for you, and you need to look after yourself. But yeah, that happens, and I then just say to myself, okay, you know, let my stomach settle, drink some water, and then later on try and eat something, because I'm going to be hungry, because I've thrown everything up. But yeah, anyway, that's going off on a different tangent, but it's hard for me to deal with, because obviously now I am in a much better place with eating. It kind of just knocks me a bit, and it's like, makes me question myself, but then I know it's not me, so I just have to not question myself and realise that that's a totally different matter. But yeah, I'm just very good at convincing myself of things, and that is a way to succeed in life, because you convince yourself it's possible, so you achieve it. However, that can be very bad in terms of eating. So with like having bad skin, for example, I would go off dairy and I'd convince myself it was helping my skin, and it really wasn't. If anything, it was then just creating issues myself, because then when I started having dairy again, it made my body go and messed it up, and you know, react to it, get bad tummy ache and stuff like that. It's just been this massive cycle my whole life, not life, but for a significant part of my life, for let's say the past 10 years. And having the gyms closed, and obviously cooking meals, being stuck at home, not going out to eat, we were going for like one weekly shop and buying nice meals to have throughout the week, and then maybe having a takeaway, but it wasn't having a takeaway and binging, because I was nourished. I was eating enough food throughout the week, and I was eating meals that I was enjoying. So it wasn't then like I was starving myself and then this Domino's was like the best thing ever. It was like I was eating well, and if I fancied Domino's, yeah, let's get Domino's. And then I realised that when I then got Domino's, A, I didn't need a large because it wasn't, I just didn't need it. I couldn't eat that. And B, I'd then get a medium and not even be able to eat it. Sometimes I'd eat half of it. And finally, I was listening to my body. Finally, I was controlling all my portions. I wasn't putting, even throughout the week when I was having other meals, I wouldn't put a portion in front of me and be like, you have to eat every single last bit of that, because I'd then get to a point where I felt sick. So I'd eat it to the point where I felt full, and then I'd be like, yeah, I'm done now. And that's fine. And if someone offered me something and I didn't want it, I'd say no, instead of feeling like I had to. Or just even as simple things like going to get a drink. Like if I'm going to get a drink and there's Pepsi Max, not that this is anything to do with calories because there's not even calories in that, but I would listen to myself. So I'd see it and I'd be like, do you know what? I really fancy water. So I'd get the water. And it's just a case of starting to listen to myself and starting to listen to my body actually wanted and what I actually wanted and what made me feel good instead of made me feel bad about myself. And exercising how I wanted to and not forcing myself to train biceps and triceps separately, shoulders, etc., and be this like big strong person. Like I don't want to be that anymore. And I suddenly realised what I actually wanted, and it was to look sexy, not to look like all I ever do is go to the gym. And I also wanted to achieve more things in my life than just go in the gym every single night. Like all these things were like stressing me out, and since I've not been obsessing over it, I have achieved so much more in my life, like in terms of business, in terms of work, in terms of friendships, relationships, everything. And I actually enjoy my life more. I enjoy my life more. And I also enjoy working out more. And going back to that morning in lockdown, it was like, because I've been breaking these habits and actually starting to enjoy my life and enjoy what I looked like. I didn't constantly think about what I look like anymore. Whereas I spent the past 10 years doing that. No matter where I was, what I was doing, it was constantly, is this good enough? Is this bad enough? Is this... Instead of just enjoying the present moment, which I then started to do. And then this morning I said to Ben, I was like, I think I have suffered with body dysmorphia for a very long time. And he was like, yes, Robin, yeah, you have. I've been trying to tell you this. But you have to realise these things yourself, I guess, and you have to want to make a change. And when you do, honestly, it's the best thing I've done because I enjoy my life so much more. I love myself so much more. And I appreciate my body so much more, and food and everything. Like, I don't force myself to eat things I don't want to, and I enjoy the things I do eat. And it's like breaking free from a trap, and it feels amazing. And my body is then now so much more what I actually want it to be. Like, I like my body so much more. I'm not constantly thinking about it anymore. I just enjoy it. I'm thankful for it and for what it provides. And now my motives are so different. It's keeping myself healthy, feeling strong, feeling fit, just feeling good. And yeah, that's kind of my story with it. If you have any questions about any of this, I can do a Q&A about this, or a tips on overcoming it. If you want to know more, please let me know, because this has just kind of been my story with it. And yeah, there's so much more I could probably go into, but this is just obviously the outline of it, and I'll be happy to help. Obviously, I am a qualified PT. I don't do that anymore, but I am qualified, and I've done a lot of research into the nutrition side of it because of this. So if you do need help, please feel free to ask in the comments. And that's it from me today. So I will see you soon. Thanks for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe and like. Thank you. Love yous.